begin, just let us know in the chat where you are in the world, what time of day it is. Last time we had somebody in Boston. We have them all over Europe, so let us know. England, perfect. So it's a bit cooler today. I don't know where you
Boston.
are, Joe, but I'm cold here.
So Boston, are we talking Boston, Massachusetts, or Boston, Lincolnshire?
Is there one in it?
Quite different places, yeah.
Boston, nice. So you'll be there when inbound is happening. I luckily am going. Chris, unfortunately,
we're not talking about inbound.
I know.
No, we're not.
Perfect. Right. Well, let's begin. 103. We've got a good chunk of you here. Let's start. So if you haven't been to one of our hugs before, I'm Bridget. I'm the marketing manager here at BabelQuest, and I normally bring Chris along with me, or drag him along with me, to talk all about adoption, which is something we're super passionate about here at BabelQuest. And we dive into lots of different tools that HubSpot have got that help with adoption, and we've done it for sales teams before. For the hugs, we've actually gone into the tools and all sorts. So I'll make sure to link all the previous ones if you have missed any. A little bit of housekeeping. I think I've already mentioned it already, but let us know where you are. For starters, do the chit chat in the chat, and then do any questions in the Q&A. I'll be monitoring it throughout, and I will either interrupt Chris if I can, or I'll wait till the end as well. Don't want to interrupt the flow too much. And then that's all the boring bits. Chris, for anyone who hasn't met you before, do you want to give us a brief rundown of yourself?
Okay, I'm a HubSpot consultant here at BabelQuest. I implement new HubSpot portals, fix broken ones, and get terribly excited about how the tool changes, to the point where Bridget was thinking of making me wear an orange headband, which I feel is a bit derivative, ripping off Carl's orange hat. So I'm not going to do it. But thank you for the orange headband.
It's not quite the same as Carl's orange hat, but those are actually left over from our sports day yesterday. But we are going to dive into user objects today. They're fairly new for all of us, and I think the feedback that we've been getting is that people don't know how to implement it into their business, and it's a great update, but why does that matter? So Chris is going to dive into it. We're not even going to share slides today. We're literally just going to live in HubSpot and show you all the tools and just dive deep. So Chris, take it away.
Yeah, and excuse me if I we need to remember how to share a screen on Bevy. So let's do this in terms of properties. So the user object, interestingly, I ended up using my HubSpot Enterprise Hub to create a user custom object about 6 months ago, so I could start doing stuff like this. But since then, HubSpot have brought it in and made it a native object within the system. And what we're tending to see is people are excited, curious, don't really know what to do about it. So what I'm going to try and do today is, I suppose, get the creative juices flowing for a lot of you to start to think about the right sort of thought process as to how you're going to use it. We'll talk about some use cases. We will talk about onboarding, ongoing adoption, and reporting. And we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end, hopefully, unless I ramble on too far. But if you have questions while we're going, then put them in the Q&A, and we'll let Bridget decide whether we're going to answer them live or not. So what I've got on screen, I thought we'd kind of start with properties, and the fact that you can create custom properties against your HubSpot users. And it's, I'm sure you're all pretty familiar with HubSpot and how we create a property, but the user properties, you'd go to your properties list and go down to user properties, and you'll see I've got various other user type properties in here that I'm building to try and hack around this, because I do have this unfortunate thing at the moment of trying to invent new things and then HubSpot supersede them by adding native functionality. So we can create our user properties. We can also see we've got, for example, we've got all the HubSpot created properties, but you'll see I've gone in, I've created various things. And I think this is really important when you're thinking about these properties, is thinking about what you're going to do with them. So we'll go through some use cases, and we'll talk a bit about reporting on adoption problems. But one of the things that we might want to think about is here a simple property called adoption status. This is a property that we can use a workflow to update. So thinking about the whole thing as a whole really helps with what you're going to do with these user properties. I've also gone in and created a date of birth, which might be useful for sending somebody a birthday email, workflow, dietary preferences. We could have, we could be planning the company Christmas do. Start date's important because you might want to trigger workflows off the back of it. And then I've just thought about things like skills and talents, training pathway, user role for onboarding. And I think when you're thinking about these properties, one of the keys is to just think about, what do I want to do with this and how do I enable it by having the correct building blocks in place? So user properties, really nice, easy to build. One thing that you should be aware of is that they're quite hard to find, to fill in, and it took me a wee while to find them. So I will now stop sharing, share again, change to a different screen.
I think as HubSpot released lots of new tools and things, I am finding it a little bit harder to. It's you're used to a certain way, and when things aren't where you're used to, it takes a long time to then change your behavior and find where the new things are. And I think that's just an ongoing thing of them being so great at introducing a lot more tools, but for people that have been using it for 5-10 years, it's very different to how it used to look.
And but I think the other thing is, though, the really nice thing about the way that HubSpot is built is that once you kind of understand how it works, then you're able to find things because you kind of know how an object works, and you can kind of work to. And this is the process I went through, which was trying to find my custom user properties. I went to the users and teams and drilled down on my user and found in preferences that we've got custom user properties. And you can see I built a group called onboarding, and I've got some properties here that I can fill in. I could fill these in before my employee starts so that I'm storing that data, and I can potentially then start to trigger my onboarding workflow, which is the next thing we're going to actually look at. So if you do get lost and you can't find them, and I think we just had it in the chat, the link to opt into the beta for custom user properties. So thank you, Jake.
Jake has shared it.
Thank you. That's fantastic. So everybody can now do that and start thinking about what properties you might want to create. As I say, there is a use case for working backwards from what you want to achieve, which will then tell you what properties you might need to build. So for me, the first thing I got excited about and there must be an easier way to do the whole bevy sharing thing. You just get to see me peering in. But the first thing I got excited about was actually the concept that, so we, for example, we've got all kinds of things internally. We've got HubSpot projects for a new person's onboarding, and it gives them a tick list and they go through and tick the boxes of what they've done. So my first thought was, why not build a workflow and build all of our onboarding process into it? And if you think about properties and what you might need and fields, you can actually get something pretty cool. So I'm just using a fairly simple enrollment trigger. I'm just going to say employee start date. So that was my custom property. And it could be create date, but your IT team might want to create users in advance. So having a specific start date gives us an HR related data point that we can use. And then I've got my other property. So I've got my user role onboarding property, and I've added marketing, finance, leadership, intern. Other roles are available. And it's simply a case of going through and thinking about, now this is not fully fleshed out because it's in the test portal, and it's really just to try and get you guys thinking about how you might be able to use this. But for example, here we've got, as soon as they start, they get an email in their inbox saying, start your security training. And it gives them the right person to talk to, gives them a spreadsheet, so they know, and they can then start to follow that process through. And it may be that we want them to tick a box somewhere to say whether they've done it or not. And we're just having a flow. We're going to delay for a day, for example. We get them to create, this is the sales users, so we're going to get them to create their 30-second commercial, i.e. how would they tell somebody what they do? So we do that. We'll have another delay, get started on your PDEV plan. So again, we can share what they might want to do. We can link them to the HubSpot Academy, tell them what we think they should be, what they should be doing, and check in with your manager. And we could send updates to their manager, to the individual, and that might be the sales one. And I think the really nice thing about this is if we really think about our onboarding process for a new member of staff, we can actually make this a 3-month-long workflow. It could be that, so we don't lose that flow. We've got that sort of constant, albeit automated, and we want the human touch, but we're automating that onboarding process. We're reminding people to do the things they need to do. We're providing resources. And I think sometimes when you start as a new employee, you can feel a little bit lost and a little bit stuck, and you might be sort of sitting at a desk or sitting at home, happening constantly. Then you've got that lovely onboarding flow. And some other things might be, you can have some videos from co-workers, introduction videos embedded in emails. So meet the team and gradually drip feed them the team. So there's lots of things you can do with this. And, Bridget, I don't know what you would do for your new team members, but you might have a different marketing flow.
Yeah, absolutely. It would. And what I really like about this is that it can be as simple, like you've done, like that's fairly simple, and it can be really complex. But you mentioned you can have tick boxes that they fill out, and then it moves them through the workflow and things. And what's really good if that, alongside the new conversion reporting in the workflows tool, you can then see how far they are through their onboarding process, because you can see the conversion through that. So I think that could be quite interesting to use alongside that as well. But we have had a couple of comments. So Rashida, you used to create a contact record for new user onboarding workflows, and this is a great way to avoid that. Absolutely, especially when you're a bigger business. You don't want to muddy up those contact lists, definitely. Joe's building out a custom object called sales reps and connecting deals companies and custom objects to them, and then creating the calculation properties to assess the reps conversion rate and averages what they do, as reports will not do this for us. It's a little complicated. Can we use user objects instead? So maybe we come back to that one at the end.
I think it's something that, because I've done exactly the same for a couple of clients where we've kind of built out this, I called it a sales user object, and then we use sort of roll up properties to how many of this are attached to it and how many of those have happened. And it gives you some quite nice detailed reporting on rep rates. And then we added another custom object, which basically creates a stamp so that you can report monthly on all of these things. So I think, Joanne, it's something that I would want to probably dig into a bit more and sort of be left alone in the dark room with HubSpot for a bit to see, because I think that's often a question when new functionality appears is, do I undo what I've already done, or do I just keep with what I've got? And I think sync properties were the classic one there, weren't they? That we all built workflows that said, if company industry is X, copy to contacts, and then sync properties came along. So it's we'll have a look, and we will once we've worked it out, we'll do some comms around that and see if we can steer you in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned it when we were discussing this, Chris, is that also there's a limitation on the types of properties you can build, isn't there, at the moment?
Yeah, so I couldn't get at sync properties, which I suppose kind of makes sense, because you'd have to then define the associations, and I don't think we've
Yes, you can't do
quite
that yet.
got that. The other thing I found out was that you can only use emojis in your user object properties if there's text with them as well. But I think onboarding, it's quite a simple use case, but it's just really nice. I think it's really slick that somebody comes on board, you've added their start date, and from day one they're starting to get that nice drip feed. You can branch it, we can have check-ins, we could send employee satisfaction surveys and all sorts of things, and just have everybody on rails, and then we can report on it. We can track, how does the onboarding flow impact how quickly a new salesperson gets up and running and makes their first sale. Obviously, we need a significant amount of data to make decisions based on that, but I really like this. I think, is anybody else going to go out and build a new onboarding workflow?
I'm going to go and build a test one, actually, and see how complicated I can make it.
Yeah. And that's me trying to keep everything nice and simple. So that, I think, onboarding workflow, nice and easy. And I think the concept of your ongoing sort of ongoing adoption. So we'll talk about reporting in a little bit, but the other thing that we can think about, if we go back to our workflows, is we can potentially start to think about an adoption issues workflow. So very simple, and using some of the native properties, but we've got calendar status, we've got email status, and we've got last active are great properties that we can use. And again, I've sort of dramatically simplified this. I think it's supposed to be illustrative, but what we're saying is, if their calendar's not synced or is disconnected, or they've disabled their email, or they haven't been active for a while, and we might have to mitigate against holidays. But those are all leading indicators that there might be a problem coming. I think if you can see that one of your sales team has disconnected their email from your CRM or your HubSpot, that's probably a sign that they're doing something else. They might be doing something differently. For example, they might just need a quick word where you tell them that you can build a never log list for all those people you email from your work email address that you don't want logged in the system, or they might want some sort of different permission set so that people can't see their emails on records. So we can use the automation to send reminders to them or to alert us. And I think that becomes an internal choice, whether it's sort of carrot versus stick. Are we going to go and bash them or have that timely word, or are we just going to gently nudge them? And again, we can make that fun. We can write the emails, make it interesting, and use it to just keep people on the straight and narrow, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. What you've just said there is that when it comes to adoption and somebody's not following process, I think a lot of people tend to react rather than respond. And so they're like, no, you're doing it wrong, rather than looking at it a bit deeper, like you've just mentioned. Maybe it's because they email people they don't want logged at the moment. Maybe we've had it before where somebody's emailed their solicitor, their moving house, and it's then logged it into our portal, things like that. People need the flexibility to remove that, but they don't know that yet. So it's making sure that they've got that knowledge. I think that was a really, really good point you made there, Chris.
And it's leading versus lagging indicators. The lagging indicator is, this person has clearly not logged their emails for 2 weeks, and you only find out that when you're having a chat about a particular deal and there's no comms and we don't know what's going on, versus that early awareness. Somebody disabled their email 2 days ago. Well, let's go and have a quick chat. Or we could send them a resource, say, hey, we noticed that you disabled your email. Did you know that if you go to this place in settings, you can build a never log list so that your emails to your secret lover or whoever it happens to be are not going to get logged for all your colleagues to see? And no, I just like that sort of gentle nudge to just keep people going. And then, interestingly, we've got a question here. Another automation piece has been on mind. What happens when a rep leaves? Now, again, we could think about something here, but actually, Hannah, our colleague, built out this concept of using HubSpot, using teams in HubSpot to have a leavers team and associated permission sets, which kind of helps with that. And I think, Bridget, you've probably got a HubSpot hacks.
We do. So I'll make a note to send that round. It's really clever, and I think it's actually one of our most popular hacks ever. Is so the automation, you mark them down on a levers list. It will trigger a levers team. Sorry, it triggers the workflow, and then it will branch based on what and send them based on what team they were in to reassign everything that was theirs to other people. It's very clean, very sweet. I haven't explained that very well at all, but the HubSpot hack has a whole step by step, so I'll send that round.
It's a very nice little piece of functionality that she's thought out, and went wild on LinkedIn and got loads of comments and people thinking about things. Right, and we'll make sure that's on the email that we presumably send out after this.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so think about, I think it's thinking about what adoption challenges you might have. And typically when we do an implementation, we'll have a session right at the beginning about adoption, and we'll talk about comms. Without going too deep into the sort of psychology of it, we'll talk about barriers that you would typically foresee, and the fact that barriers aren't always what you might instantly think they are. Somebody not using the system could be down to all kinds of things. They might not feel they've been trained properly. There might be a company culture of not using the CRM. There might be that one golden child in the sales team that doesn't have to use it because they're so good and they get away with it. So having these little nudges, and I think nudge is the way to use this sort of workflow. Little nudges to just remind people, point them at training resources, and you might have this workflow that if X number of days have elapsed since such and such happened and it hasn't been remedied, send them a survey, get them to fill in an anonymous form about the system and give you some feedback about what problems there actually are.
Mm-hmm.
busy looking at the comments as well.
Yeah, so Rashida is saying, loving the potential of this as a RevOps Pro. Absolutely. It gives you so much just insight, I think. And there's so many great default properties that HubSpot put in. Like I love personally the property that invite accepted was, and I think that's a really good one, because sometimes when you're doing that onboarding flow, for example, having their employee start date is great, but how many of us have started a new job and then there's been some IT issues, you can't get into your email on the first day? That's when invite accepted is potentially a good trigger as well. So Jess has just asked, just to clarify, the user object only refers to properties that are collecting information about a user of HubSpot, like colleagues. What's the value for a small user team? You are correct. The user object is tied to yourself and your colleagues using HubSpot. Chris, what would you say for a small team? What is the value?
I think the value for a small team is just as the same as it would be for a larger team. It's understanding what people are doing. It's being able to trigger automation, and I think it's also being able to plan that a small team maybe one day will be a bigger team, and starting to put those processes in place when you're small, iron out the cracks, get everyone on board, so that. I think this is perhaps the more human side of things, but if you can build a corporate culture of we use the CRM, then new people that come in are not coming in and seeing people go, oh God, got to fill that wretched thing in. So using little nudges, and we'll actually go into reporting in just a minute and talk about some of the things you might be able to report on. I think that allows you to build something that's scalable, and that I think is almost the holy grail of having a CRM and something like HubSpot, especially because HubSpot grows with you. you can learn with your early adopters and get them up and running. And you can actually, I think you can use these alerts to alert you of adoption problems or usage problems. You can go and have a chat with them, because I think you might have quiet employees that don't want to go to their manager and go, CRM's rubbish, don't like it. So I think it's very much, again, that sort of adoption side and preparing for future growth and building those processes that are going to grow with you, that are going to help new people on boards and are going to help the team build this culture of, we've got HubSpot, we've got everything we need in here, and we can all do our jobs properly, and we're all going to get stuck in and use it.
I think adoption is still a problem, even in a small team, because if one person rocks the boat slightly, they fall under. I think it can just trickle down, can't it, and affect everybody. So still super important. And actually, Chris's dashboard, which, sorry, I'm jumping ahead potentially, that you're going to dive into next, I think it's useful for any size business. And it blew my mind a little bit. I was really excited by it.
No pressure, Ben. Yeah, again, we've actually, we'll talk about reporting now. We actually did one of these hugs before the user object was available, where I kind of, again, hacked around it a little bit. But here we've got more power, and we can start to actually build out reports. I think it's important to note that a lot of this information is available in different parts of your HubSpot portal, but being able to report on this sort of thing all together in one place means that you can tell a story with data, and you can build out that adoption dashboard that you can look at, follow through, and know what actions you need to take. Are we coming up for a problem or not? So let's dive into different screen.
Debbie strikes again. So whilst you're doing that, Jake has asked, what about assigning tasks or custom onboarding steps for people? Have you thought about that when you're onboarding new people?
No, actually, that's another interesting consideration and something we should try and do.
Yes. So with that one, we'll make a note of that one, and we will get back with thoughts on that one.
And I think there might be something in there along the lines of, again, using this in combination with some of the team functionality as well. But I like that. I think that's you probably could, if you map it out, you can build out that whole onboarding process, and have those steps one by one follow through. So if anybody's listened to me talking about reporting before, one of the things that I'd always advocate is, if you're going to build out a dashboard or a suite of reports on something, starting with a master report is the best time-saving tip I can offer. So what we've actually done here is we've just said, right, we're going to build a master report. We're going to use that as the basis for any reporting that we want to build out. And what we've simply done is we've gone through, we're using users, so we now can use users in reporting, and we could report cross-object, but I'm just going to keep it reasonably simple here. We've got our user properties down here, and all I've done is thought, what reports am I possibly going to need to build ever about my users? And I've simply just put them all into the fields. And now I've got a template. And if anybody's not a regular user of HubSpot reporting, we've got these two options at the top: update existing report and save as new report. And if you save as new report, you're actually not superseding what you've built. So you still have your master report. So if I was to build any sort of report here, I want to say, I just want a table with owner, name, and job title, then that's come in here. Obviously, we haven't added any job titles here, but I can call that job title report. I can click to this new report, and then I can carry on. So I don't have to go to the dashboard, work out what I've got. It's a lovely time saver. It's really good if you're building something like a data hygiene dashboard as well. Top tip, it took me a little while to work this one out. I had to go into the reporting to find this one out, but the owner of a HubSpot user is the HubSpot user.
So potentially one, I know the product team are here with us, so potentially one that might benefit from, are you thinking a manager needs to be the owner, Chris, for those?
Well, it might be, and actually there is a property manager held against it, but I wasn't in my time sort of going through it. I wasn't able to find out where I could access that manager property. So so we'll keep an eye on the chat for that one. But okay, what's onboarding workflows, small user teams. So we've got this master report, and I think for anybody, it's a really useful thing to do on any dashboard you're going to build out. Is just start with your master report, and I always forget that I've set up all my bookmarks now.
Very helpful. If anybody hasn't done that, I only did it yesterday, and that was very delayed of me, but it is a lifesaver. And just to interrupt Chris before you get into the flow, Jake is on it and he's let us know that they are literally building the manager property now, which is great. So Neva, I think that's it, Neva. She's working as fast as she can, and we appreciate that.
Sorry, we're like spoiled children at Christmas. I feel like sometimes we want it now. Give us this new thing, and we kind of go, "Oh, here's something fabulous. There's lots of wonderful use cases for it," and then we're going to go, "Yes, but we want more." I'm always telling my child not to be greedy and spoilt, and I think we probably are a little bit here. So I think pulling this all together, we've made our properties that we want to record against our users. We've worked out how to fill in our custom properties. We built onboarding workflows. All right, albeit a very simple one, but I think everybody here is aware and probably now planning those onboarding flows. Glad you're asking for more, keeping me employed.
Don't encourage us, Jake.
So we're building out our flows, and then we've also looked at building out those notifications, those sort of gentle adoption nudges to keep us going. I'm going to close the chat now because I keep looking at it and forgetting where I am, which is not very good for all of you.
You crack on with the report.
You track it. We built all of that, and I think now what we want to do is be able to report on various things, and it's not. I think it's not just reporting on various things. I think we might be doing things, for example, like being able to see at a glance without having to go into our user table or go deeper. Whatever we might want to know about our users. So what we've got here, and again, we talked about workflows to send those nudges. But we can also have those workflows that are setting this property, which is our adoption status. So here we've got our little adoption status reports, and we can see, for example, that Bridget is a problem. Last active this month, but has disabled her email and her calendar's never been connected. So we might want to intervene there. We can have a look, and then we can see Carrie. I don't know if Carrie's on there, so sorry using you, Carrie. We can see Carrie's a big problem, and you can also start to think through what properties you'd use that you're holding against the user to impact this adoption status property, and what you might do with it. And again, very simple reporting. We might want to make it look pretty. We might want to have some pie charts or something like that. But while I was thinking about this, it was just basically trying to make it, at a glance, what's going on. So we can see we've got 4 people that have got great and an okay. So we're probably doing pretty well here. But actually, we can see we've probably got data problems coming in the future because we've only got 1 person that has their email synced. So what that's probably telling us is that people may not have been trained. So let's dig into that and let's intervene. I think the psychologists, when you're dealing with an adoption barrier, would call it an intervention. We can intervene and we can work out what are we going to do about this right now. I put together a report for seat tracking. What I wanted to see was who had seats and whether they were active or not. And we can see that from the user table. But let's say we don't want someone to have access to the user table, but we do want them to see this, then we can pull it out in reporting and we can put it on a dashboard for them. So nice, simple, visual, we can see at a glance any problems coming. We can set our permission sets. Again, we can see we've probably got a problem in this portal because no one's got their SCIM set up and everyone's a super admin. I stress that this is a test portal where we play. So
can you,
really like
for those of us who might not know, what is SCIM?
Oh, it's authentication. So you might have Microsoft as your authenticating your single sign-on. So seeing whether people are actually set up properly, and that is kind of getting into the IT end of this rather than adoption. But I think they're going to want to know if there are potential data issues coming up. But also, you might want to be able to nudge your team. So we can see permission sets. If we really want to, we could record dietary requirements so that HR could look and see what people want to eat for Christmas, or see can we have nuts at the Christmas party? No, because we've got somebody with a nut allergy, so don't bring nuts into the office.
To confirm, if anybody ever wants to send me any food in the post, I am none of those. This is just for demonstrative purposes.
Yeah. But I think I was just trying to think a little bit left field about how we can use this for all people within the organization. Yeah, we can track things like this. And again, this is in the user table, but you have to scroll way over to see it or rearrange a column. So let's just have it nice and simple. Who set up a scheduling page?
This is a big one. This is a good one.
And yeah, it's a really big one, because the number of times we go into a company where they've been using HubSpot for 6 years and nobody's got a scheduling page, and then you tell them and they get really excited, and then you show them that they can insert proposed times in an email, and then they realize that people really like that and respond well to it. So you can actually even get the people who have been using it for years but maybe are a bit bored or doing something else to actually re-engage with the tool by just having those little data points that you can pick out. I might want to look at my team breakdown in a visual way, for example, or I want to use my training pathways to be able to hand that over to HR and say, I've got one person who's very good at tap dancing and sales but needs training for hopping or whatever it happens to be. Apparently I need people skills. Somebody's been in there and operating on my beautiful but I think the key for everyone is thinking about how you can use this tool set to give people to do two things, is to be informed and to have that dashboard and see what's happening, but also to be able to give people gentle nudges on the adoption front and to see problems coming a month ahead of time. So we know that maybe we need to have a bit of a push on CRM use. Let's have a big training session for everybody, get them refamiliarized. Let's send out a survey and see how people feel about the system. And let's just have a few quiet words with people. So we can track all of these things. And again, the master report, which we touched on, I always put that on the dashboard. And then you might want to pull things out that are not specifically held against the user object. So let's keep an eye on activities, for example, for sales. What are those key metrics? Are they completing tasks? And there's an intake of breath.
A really, really great question, actually, that Salma has just asked, is that she can see with this, I think it's related to activity, she can see people creating deals and contacts and scheduling meetings, but not necessarily the people that aren't scheduling meetings. So that forces her to rely on memory or an Excel spreadsheet to identify the users who aren't tracking activity and logging activity. So is there a way to capture the people that aren't doing that?
I suppose we might. Can we? So we've got who the activities are. Could we stick a filter on, or look for people that have put a filter on for people that have not done any activities? answering questions on the fly is never the way to go. But but I like it. I think that's absolutely a great thing to have. But here, you've got an activity report, and it is going to show the people at the bottom that haven't done anything. So you'll see a list of the team members, and we can see that me, for example, have 444 activities logged, whereas Eric has got 2. So you can actually see the good versus the bad, and it might be that then if you have people you're particularly concerned about, then you could build a dashboard specifically for them, or use filters. I think I'm going to take that one, and we'll have a little bit of a play there as well.
I'm going to make a note of that to see if we can find out, because that's a really great question.
Right, loads of questions. I think we are bang on time for questions now. So let's just sort of plow in.
We have I've answered Rashida. Rashida had a great question about the calendar connected property update, and is that a workflow that you need to set up, or does HubSpot automatically do it? And HubSpot automatically does it, which is great. And Jake is here from the product team, and he has said, if there's any other aspects that you would like to be automatically tracked and put on the user object, then speak now. Whilst you've got their ears. Very good. They take what we say and they do things with it, which is great. And then next one from Becky is, can you use emails built in the marketing email tool to send workflow emails to users without making them a marketing contact status?
That's probably more your line, more your neck of the woods, isn't it, Bridget? But I'm going to say, I'm just going to, if you want to talk about it a little bit, I will dig into my workflow and see if that option presents itself.
I haven't tested this myself, not since the new user object has been created, but historically, no. They would need a marketing contact status for that one. So
I'm in the workflow tool, and send email is blanked out. So we're on in-app notifications or internal email notifications.
Yes, so not quite there, but hopefully that is something that is maybe on the roadmap. Jake or the other members of the product team are here. Hopefully they can give us an answer on that one to see if
you can do nice things with the internal emails. You can add images, and you can drop tables in. You can use emojis, add links, and that sort of thing. So there are some nice things you can do with the internal notifications. And I suppose if you are a big organization, then the whole, if you've got 500, 1,000 people, then having to have that extra amount of marketing contacts is potentially an issue. Yes. So that might be quite a nice thing to have.
Equally, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that actually having like in-app notifications and in-app emails is a great way to get them on the platform, using it and get used to being there. So I can see how, Jake said that they know it's a problem. So in the future, they might get back to us on that one. But for now, I think it actually helps with adoption, which is what we're kind of here to talk about, because you have to get used to the platform. Another thing, please send your questions in whilst I ramble on. But another thing that I would love to be able to track, and we've actually had to hack around it, is academy courses. So Chris built, I don't know if you've got it up on that dashboard, actually, Chris. A really great built a custom object for the HubSpot Academy courses, and then we track that internally to see who's done what. And that would be another really great thing to have embedded in the user properties. I don't know if the team can share if that's a potential, but if not, we'll share the hack around that we've created. If you are on the tier with custom objects, and you can do this as well.
So yeah, this is actually what I built before we had the user object. We kind of made the custom object and created some properties against it to be able to see, again, from an adoption perspective, a lot of these are quite nice properties to have. Who are our champions? Who can train other people? What training have people completed? So we've got a record, and we also then added whether they had done various academy certifications via a multi-checkbox field.
So that is something that you can build manually in the user properties, but I think that would be a really great one to track automatically.
It'd be really cool if it hooked up to the academy, and then you could get. But I suppose the academy sends you notifications anyway. But yeah, you could build automation that gives you more warnings that your certification's about to run out. Because I think I've got 20 on red at the moment that are all going to have to be redone in the next month.
Absolutely. Any more questions? What about connected to playbooks?
I suppose
The use case for that one.
Is there a use case? Is the question there? Would you go into a user and use a playbook?
Maybe HR would potentially.
But then I suppose you're going into would you want to store? I mean, I suppose we've got sensitive data fields now, but we then need sensitive data fields against the user object for HR to store things. And would we prize HR out of their HR systems with all the sort of tax and national insurance numbers and all that sort of thing?
I think that's a really important point, is that just because it could do something doesn't mean it necessarily should. And it's at the end of the day, it's a customer platform. Like, it's great having the user information in there, very valuable, but for an adoption side of things, not necessarily for a HR side of things, I would argue for that one. Rashida, great question. Who, in your opinion, is the owner of the user object? Should it be the user or should it be the manager?
I mean, it's currently the user. That's the default. I suppose the question would be, would we want to set that as the owner, or would we have the manager field that says who the manager of an individual is?
Joe's just corrected us. We went off on a HR tangent, and she actually meant more for training purposes. So they can go through it like the salespeople do in a playbook, and it connects and updates the status of their training level.
Interesting. I will have a play and see whether we can actually access those fields in a playbook.
Yes, I'll note that down, and we can send some videos afterwards. Any more questions whilst we're here? I know that we got asked one right at the start, which was about a report, I'm sure. So we'll come back on that one. It was about creating calculation properties, and we did say obviously there's a bit of a limit at the moment on the properties that you can build. But yes, we've noted down questions that we can't answer right now, and we'll come back to you later in the follow-up email. In the follow-up email, so I'm going to send you over the HubSpot hack for the levers team, some more information on the custom onboarding, the workflow that we created that breaks it down by a team, and you can build out a workflow for that. And then reporting on the people who have done no tasks or activities. I think that was Joe that asked that, or Becky. Can't remember. And then hacks on the user training, and then we'll look into the playbook for training as well. Barry, yes, we will. The link for the recording is also going to be in there. We are also, I appreciate there's always a lot of product updates that get released, and it's quite hard to stay on top of them. So just to let you know, we've also got a product updates dashboard that you can sign up to for free, and that we update every month for you, and it filters it based on what your subscription level is, so you can see exactly what updates are reflective of your subscription. I think that might be everything. And Jake has very, very kindly said that you can reach out to him. So I'm going to include his email address as well in the follow-up email. Jake, thank you so much. And the team, I know Neva is here as well. So thank you for joining. Any questions that you might have, drop us over a LinkedIn message. We always really love meeting people that have been on here. Chris, any last?
I think, keep the questions coming. Also, your experiences, how you actually get on with doing this sort of thing. It'd be great to be able to sort of come back and talk about some use cases. Maybe get somebody to come and show us what they've built in another one.
Love that, actually. If any of you want to come on in future,
participation might be really cool. And the impact. context is always really good with all of these things. There's so many updates, and ones that we can add that little bit of context and thought process to just helps people just decide, well, that's not for me, I don't need it, or that's fantastic, we'll have 6 of them.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, everybody gets 8 minutes back of their day, but make sure you go and use those 8 minutes to connect with us on LinkedIn and drop us a message, and hopefully we'll see you at the next hug.
Thank you very much,
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.